Welcome back, my friends, to the show that never ends, and glad you could attend. Come inside, Movie Maniacs, as we look at the independent horror film called The Campground. Okay, well, the mwahaha part isn't part of the title. But The Campground tells us the story of a group of friends who go out to a remote campground for a night of debauchery. Lots of fun, sin, sex, and alcohol. Well, unfortunately, the party takes a downturn spiral as the partygoers start going one by one missing and end up dead at the hands of a mysterious killer armed only with a screwdriver. Well, this killer ends up being attached to a legend that surrounds the campground. And what exactly is that legend? Well, you're going to have to watch The Campground to find out. Now, folks, this is a modern horror film done in an 80s slasher style, which I really liked. They didn't try to set the film in the 80s, but they still tried to give it that 80s flair, and I think they accomplished that. One of the ways they accomplished that is through the soundtrack that accompanies most of the action in this film. It's done kind of early John Carpenter-esque, had kind of a Halloween style feel to it, and really helped set the tone for the entire film, and especially some of the scenes. Now, the scenes that we do get where there are kills, I was impressed with. The special effects in the kill scenes looked really well done, and while the kills weren't exactly all extremely creative, you can only do so much with a screwdriver, they were rather brutal and fitting for the slasher that they came up with. Now, the slasher, I really liked the backstory and the legend they came up with for this killer at the campground. Felt very fresh, yet had that 80s slasher elements in it, and I really enjoyed the character and what they came up with. Now, the acting of the performers ranges from really fun and good to kind of alright, but you'll get that with an independent, low-budget horror film like this. Many of these people, it's their first time in front of the camera, and, it does show here and there, but for the most part, they're playing your 80s slasher cliche-type characters, so, you can be a little forgiving for that. And still, the film in general was a lot of fun, and the acting did not take me away from it. I did like the directing and pacing of this film, and you did kind of care for a couple of the characters in here. It definitely kept you on the edge of your seat and had you questioning who exactly was going to be off next, and it does start off pretty doggone strong with the introduction of the killer. So, in general, The Campground is well put together. There were only a few spots in the script. Now, I know it was a send-up to kind of the 80s slasher films, and we have a horror film, so people do dumb things in horror films, go to the basement by themselves, etc., along that lines. But there are just a few things in the script that kind of stood out to me and made me kind of go, what? And the audio for the most part is really good in here. There are just a couple spots where it's a little kind of hard to tell what people were saying, but for the most part, the production was well done, or at least better than expected for a film of this budget. Folks, The Campground isn't phenomenal cinema, but it is a decent, independent, low-budget horror film for first-time director Roman Jossart. I think if you're a fan of the independent cinema, especially independent horror, it's worth checking out. Check out our website where I think you can pick up a DVD of The Campground, and keep your eye as it's going to be hitting the festival circuit soon. It did get nominated for a number of different categories on HorrorSociety.com, so I think it's got a very successful festival run ahead of it if they do submit it to festivals. Again, check out their website, and the film's called The Campground, and the director is Roman Jossart, and I'm very excited to see what he comes up with next, because The Campground is definitely a decent first-time effort from this director. And that'll about do it for us here at The Final Cut. Until next time, folks, keep that ticket stub.